What's up, Dragon Nation? I'm Rich with Dragon Nation Gaming. Welcome back to KSP. It's been quite some time, and there is a reason for that. What I was doing was I was waiting for KSP 2 to come out, because it was actually supposed to come out like a couple months ago. But because of the COVID epidemic, they pushed it back. Which kind of sucks, because a lot of us were really waiting on it eagerly. But now we have to wait a little bit longer, and there's no telling when it will actually come out. So, yeah, we're back in KSP, the original. Another thing is we're playing vanilla. I guess there was an update to the game, and a lot of the mods are broken. They need to be updated, and it was causing some issues with the game. A lot of stuff that we need to do in this episode. So we're in vanilla. Hopefully everything gets updated soon so we can go ahead and start using the mods again. I'm also in creative because I didn't have some of the stuff that I needed open, so we're gonna go ahead and go into creative. We're not gonna worry about signs right now. When mods are updated, we'll go back into campaign and try to open everything up. But last episode, what we did was we got ourselves in a suborbital trajectory. I hate trying to say that word. Trajectory. God damn it. I hate that word. But we got ourselves in a suborbital trajectory. Now what we need to do is get ourselves into an orbital trajectory, which is the logical next step. So one of the things I also tried to add was a mod that has realistic historic contracts, but I couldn't get the damn thing to work. So we're going to try to do the best we can to try to replicate the Apollo missions, or this one I think is actually a Mercury mission. The mission is to dock with a vessel in orbit. So a couple things we're going to need in this episode. We're going to try to get ourselves a ship into orbit, so that way in next episode we can go ahead and try to rendezvous and dock with it. Let's go ahead and get this started. Alright, so one of the first things you want to do, especially when you're using the same size objects, is you want to try to figure yourself out a lifting body. Something you could save to the sub-assembly to save you a little bit of time. So the first thing we're going to do today is try to build ourselves a lifting body that we can reuse. Probably only for a few episodes, maybe 2 or 3, I'm not sure. But I think I know what I need to do. There's just going to be a few problems. One big problem is we're not going to have all the sizes for some of the stuff we're going to need, so we're going to have to figure this out a little bit. So what we want to do is we want to be able to control the this lifting body in order to deorbit, so that way we're saving on trash that's in orbit of our planet. But like I said, there's a problem. So if we go to size, what we want is a remote guidance unit, so that way we can control the ship remotely. This ship right here is going to be unmanned, so we are going to need a couple of those remotes. The problem is we only have 2 different sizes. Now we do have a third size, which is this one right here, but I'm not happy with that one. Then we have the third size, which is that one. Actually, I think this one is the exact same size as that one. So unfortunately we have nothing in between them, so we're going to have to work with this one. But the ship is going to have to be one size larger. So I think this right here is a 1.8. I'm not sure. Can I see the sizes somewhere? Anywhere? I guess not. But I already do know because I did experiment a little bit. So we're actually going to have to make this a little bit bigger. The way we could do that is we could go to structural, God, I hate that word too. Get ourselves an adapter to change the size, but we can also do it with a fuel tank, which this one right here, fuel tank adapter. So we're going to go ahead and put one on top, and we're also going to go ahead and put one on the bottom as well. So it's going to create this little neck, but that might not look half bad. We'll have to see. Another thing that we're going to need is at some point we will need to decouple the probe from the rest of the ship, the lifting body. So we also need to give it a protective shell so that way the atmosphere doesn't cause damage to it. So we're going to need ourselves a fairing, which I think is payload. Yep, there it is. So we need to go, yeah, it is 1.8. We need to go with that one right there. Now, of course, we're not going to do the fairing right now. We don't need it at the moment. Later on, we will. We're going to be saving this to a sub-assembly so that way we could reuse the design. Now, what I have to figure out is how much fuel and how much power am I going to need. I think I know. I've done this a bunch of times, so I think what we need to find the right size, which I think it's that one. Maybe. And what we're going to need is we're going to need 2 of those. So I'm pretty sure that should be enough fuel to get us into orbit. Or somewhat. We are going to need a little bit more power, but we'll get to that in a minute. Alright, so what we need is an engine. So what I would like to do is I would like to find the most powerful engine I can that is somewhat efficient for this size. And I think, yeah, this one right here is good for space. It's a very efficient engine, but unfortunately it doesn't have any power for atmosphere, which is what we're going to need. So this one is 374 kilonewtons in atmosphere. That one's only 52. Oh yeah, that one's not going to work. This one is 247. So I think we're going to go ahead and go with the Bobcat. See how that works out. But the thing is that's not going to be enough power to lift the lifting body plus the probe. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to add more engines. Powerful engines. Now we have 2 different types of engines. We have liquid fuel and oxidizer engines. Now those are more efficient, but they're less powerful. Or we have SRBs, solid rocket boosters, which are extremely powerful, but they're very inefficient. So you kind of have to decide how you want to do this. Let's go with SRBs. I don't use them a whole lot, so I'm going to give it a shot. We're going to do 2 symmetry with a decoupler, and I think we need to put it right there, maybe? I don't know. We'll figure that out. Then we'll go ahead and try to find the right size of SRB, which... This one? Oh, no, it's not that one. This one? The Thumper? Yep, that one will work. Alright, let's try to get it right there. Alright, so the exhaust is a little bit too high. So let's try bring it down to about right there. Alright, next thing we need to worry about is we need to make sure that the SRBs are stable, like connected to the main fuselage. Now, there's a couple different ways we could do that. We could do that with structural and then go to struts and build about 40 of them. Or, thanks to Kerbal Space Program thinking ahead, we could go ahead and just do an auto strut, which will automatically strut. Even though you can't see the struts, they're strutted. We should be safe, maybe. Alright, next thing we need to think about is aerodynamics. As you can see, the SRBs are flat at the top, which makes them very un-aerodynamic. So what we need to do is we need to find a nose cone, which is an aerodynamics. And what would be the right size? So I think it's these 2. So we have this one, which is just a basic nose cone, or we have this one right here, which will actually I like that. It'll actually direct the nose towards the main fuselage, making it look more streamlined. Yeah, I kind of like that. That looks good. And I think that's really all we need on this guy. Alright, so we do need to test this out. So what I'm going to do is we need to go ahead and put a nose cone on the top of there, so that way it's a little bit more aerodynamic. So we need to go a little bit bigger. How about this one? There we go. And this is just to test out the whole thing, make sure it works okay. Alright, now we need to worry about the staging. Oh, there's one more thing we need to worry about. Alright, so what I'm going to need is the SRBs and the Bobcat need to fire at the same time. So that way we get all that power. So we're going to set up those staging. Then the SRBs are going to run out of fuel first. So we need to get rid of that extra weight with the separators. Or what are these called? Decouplers? Radial decouplers. Gotcha. So then once we get higher in the atmosphere, the only thing that's going to be providing thrust is the Bobcat. It should be powerful enough at the altitude that we'll be at that we'll have plenty of power. Next thing we need to worry about, which I almost forgot about, is once we do separate the SRBs, we need to make sure that they are pushed away from the main fuselage, which we do that with Separatrons, which is in engines, and well, looks like we got these ones. Yep, we're gonna have to use these ones. Then we need to figure out where to put them on the SRBs to get it to pull away. Alright, we need to, nope, that's the wrong way to turn it. Okay, we need to go away from the main body, so right there. We'll put it on that ring right there just to see how that's going to work out. And then, of course, we'll do it on the other side. Yeah, just like that. Alright, now, in order to get this thing to separate kind of straight, we'll also put some at the top as well. So, right... Nope, other way. There we go. Just like that. And we'll line it up where the nose cone connects to the SRB. And we'll see how that works out. Alright, so I think that's it. Oh, we need to go ahead and move the SRBs up to decoupling. Second stage, so that way they happen at the same time. Oh, wait. Nope, you're the wrong one. Which one's the one for the SRBs? There it is. Need to move those back down. Alright, now all we need to do is test this thing out and make sure that the SRBs do actually separate. So let's go ahead and launch real quick and see how well this thing will work out. So yeah, we're not going to see if this thing will get into orbit. We're just going to see how it accelerates and make sure that the SRBs do separate from the main body. So SAS, full throttle, and in 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah. Now when we finish the ship, it is going to have a little bit more weight on it, but this should be fine. Alright, now that we reach the surface speed of over 100 meters a second, we'll go ahead and turn to the right. So that way we can make sure when the SRBs do separate, they land in the water. Which we're not going that far, but it's just kind of habit at this point. And I think what I want to do is I also want to go ahead and move those Separatrons in a little bit. So it looks more streamlined. It'll look a little bit better. It's not necessary, but I'm thinking about doing it. Alright, we're coming to separation. In 3, 2, 1. Alright, I think that works. So now we have ourselves a sub-assembly that is, yeah, it's getting fast enough that it's heating up. Let's see, what are we're at an apoapse of 80. And we're not halfway done with fuel. So this might actually be too much fuel. Alright, revert. Back to assembly. But yeah, I think that's going to work out. Alright, so one thing we need to do is we're going to go ahead and make this our sub-assembly. This is our lifting body. But the thing is, right now, the main part of this entire build is that remote unit right there. So when we bring this over from the sub-assembly to connect it to the probe that we're going to build, the snap point is going to be right there. So what we need to do is we need to go ahead and reroute it, so that way we can move the snap point. We're going to reroute it to the top where we're going to be connecting it to the probe, which is the what it's called. Forgot what it was called already. This just calls it the protective shell. I can't think of what it's called. I'll probably think of it when I'm not actually thinking about it. But what we need to do now is we need to go ahead and move this to a sub-assembly. So that way we can kind of save it and bring it into the project whenever we need to. And we're going to be reusing this thing at some point. That's why we're doing it this way. So we're going to go up here to enable simple mods. Is that what it's called? Mode. Not mods, mode. Come down to sub-assembly. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab it by the fairing. That's the word. We're going to go ahead and grab it by the fairing ring, the base of the fairing. And we're going to go ahead and bring it over to the sub-assembly drop zone. And then it's going to ask us, let's go ahead and drop that. It's going to ask us to name it. We're going to name this the lifting body. If I could, oh, do I have caps? I have caps lock on. My bad. So lifting body, it's always the small things. Alright, then we're going to go ahead and save it. Now that we have it saved, we get to use that anytime we want to. So let's go ahead and get rid of it right now. Now what we need to do is we need to build ourselves a probe. First thing we need to figure out is we're going to have a docking port on it. We need to figure out how big that docking port is going to be. Where we're going to be docking is the Mark II command pod. Not in this episode, probably next episode. Well, I know it's next episode. But I need to figure out which docking port fits this module. Or not module, the pod. So we're going to go down to coupling. Let's change organized by size, and I think it's going to be the Clampotron docking port junior. Is it? Yes, it is. Alright, now that we know that, we can go ahead and start over. We'll start with the Clampotron docking port junior. Now, this is a 6.8, actually. It does show us the size. Hold on. 90, oh no, that's in centimeters. But that's the right size that we need. But I do need to make this thing a little bit bigger so that way we can go ahead and get the fuel and everything else that we need in order to run this thing. The problem is, the reason I need to make it bigger is we're going to have some photovoltaic panels, solar panels. And as you can see, it's way too big for the docking port. So yeah, we're going to make the whole thing a little bit bigger, which means I need an adapter. We could use a fuel tank, but unfortunately, the only other size I have is way too big. That's the smallest. Well, how about you? No, you're just liquid fuel. I would need oxidizer with it as well. But that's way too much. Anyways, so what we'll do is we'll come to structural and try to find an adapter that fits. Now, if I had my mods, the one I'm thinking of is it B9 fuel switch? Or interstellar fuel switch, but B9 also has one as well. I could actually change this to actually put fuel in it, so we could have liquid fuel and oxidizer in it. But I don't have that mod, so I can't do it right now. But we can change the skin to make it look change the skin to make it look different, but I'm not going to mess with that. We'll leave it white. Alright, so next thing we're going to need is we're going to need to be able to control this probe. So we need to go to pods, find the remote guidance unit. Yep, it's the right size. Alright, next thing we're going to need is we need to make sure this thing has power. It's going to be sitting in orbit for a while. So we need a battery for the power, and then we need to be able to recharge it with the solar panels. So we'll go to electrical and rechargeable battery bank. Yeah, I think that'll work. All right, next thing we need to worry about is at some point when I do get this thing into orbit, I may need to actually maneuver this ship. So what we're going to need is we're going to need an engine with fuel. It's not going to need to be a whole lot of fuel, but we're also going to need monopropellant as well. I don't want the ship to be too big, so I think we'll go with... Are you the right size? Yeah, that should be enough liquid fuel and oxidizer. If we use this, it will be for the rendezvous. It's not going to need to be a whole lot of fuel, but we will need monopropellant to control it for docking. If we use this for docking, I don't know yet. We'll figure that out. So the next thing we need is an engine. And what we want to do is, since this thing is going to be inside of a fairing, we want to try to keep it as low profile as possible. So I could go with the LVT-45, which is pretty damn long. Or we could just go with the Terrier. It's not going to have as much power, but we'll be in space. We don't need it. And it's a little bit more efficient, I think. So the fuel will last a little bit longer. Alright, now that we have that, the next thing we're going to need is we need to be able to dock this thing, which we can't do with the engine. We need a little bit better maneuverability. We need to be able to strafe, go backwards, go forward, and all that stuff, up, down. So we're going to be using RCS, not X. So we'll just go... Yeah, we'll just go with the four-way. Is this four-way or five? Four-way. We'll go ahead and do a 4 symmetry. And what you usually want to do with the RCS thrusters is you want to make sure that they're aligned to center of mass, which if we actually turn that on, it will be right here. But we're going to add it to the top and to the bottom. That way we have a little bit more power. And it makes it more stable. Right, like that. Let's go ahead and get rid of center of mass real quick. Alright, next thing we need to think about is communication. I need to be able to communicate with this thing from... because it's remotely guided, and if I don't have an antenna on it, I won't be able to control it. So we'll come to communication. Now there's two different types of communications that we could use. We could use a dish or we could use an antenna. Now these two in real world, I don't think they do in KSP, but in real world they work differently. So the dishes are directional, which means you actually have to point them in the direction of whatever you're communicating with. Antennas are omnidirectional, which means they pick up communications from anywhere. They just have to be within the distance. So we'll use those because we will be in orbit. We won't be too far away. That's one thing you also have to keep in mind is antennas have a lower range. Dishes have a higher range, but they're directional. So let's just go ahead and put that. Oh, no, I had it. There we go. Put it right there. All right, next thing we need to do is we need to worry about charging this thing when it's in space. So we'll go ahead and go with solar panels. We'll do a 2 symmetry. And there we go. So when we do have this thing in orbit, I want to be able to open up these solar panels. Right now what I would have to do is I would have to pick them one at a time, right click on them, and extend the solar panel. Well, it does both in the VAB, but in space, I would have to do them one at a time. So what we'll do is we'll retract them and set them up in an action group. So what we want to do is I want to set it for the number 1 key. So we'll go to custom 1, which is set for that key. We'll go ahead and select the solar panels and we'll have it toggle solar panel. So now all we have to do is press number 1 and it will activate that action group, which is to extend those solar panels. All right, let's go back to build. And I think that's our probe. So what I need to do now is I need to go ahead and lift this thing up so we can fit the sub-assembly in there. So we'll click on the main body, which right now is a docking port. We'll lift it up. There we go. All right, let's see if we can connect this up. Oh, one thing I need. I don't think the fairings come with a separator or a decoupler. So So I think we need to get one ourselves. So decoupler, are you the right size? Yes, you are. There we go. All right, now we can go ahead and go to sub-assemblies and try to connect this thing. Let's see how this works out. It connects. Now we can also build the fairing. All right, let's go straight up to... Turn it. Go straight up to right here, and then we'll go ahead and make the nose. I like that. And there we go. This is the ship that will hopefully get us into orbit. I think I got everything. Not sure. We'll have to figure that out. But let's go ahead and double check the staging. Separator. What are you to? Oh, you're to that. No, I don't want you there. Alright, so this one is for the fairings, so we'll go ahead and put that there. Then after we separate the fairings will fly off. Then we will need to decouple this one and then activate the engine. So the engines at the bottom will fire. Once the SRBs are empty, it will separate the SRBs plus the Separatrons to get them away from the ship. Then the fairing, when we are actually in orbit, then we'll separate the probe, and the probe will fire the engines. I think that's everything. Also, what we need to do is we need to make sure that everything is strutted, so it's nice and stable. So we'll go to the engine on the probe, and we'll just hit auto strut. There we go. Just make sure it's strutted to the heaviest body. Alright, now all we need to do is try to get this thing into orbit. This should be interesting. Let's go into launch. Alright, so let's see if I can do this properly. I'm not the best at this, but we'll see how well we do. So what we want to do is SAS, full throttle, and in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. So once we reach a surface speed of 100 meters a second, we want to go ahead and start our gravity turn, which is right now. Now very, very slowly, we're going to go ahead and try to move to the 90 degrees. We don't want to move too quickly because the wind resistance will cause us to lose control if we move too fast. So just slightly, very slowly, we'll try to get to the 90 degrees. Now the reason we want to get to a certain speed before we start doing this is the ship will be going too slow for its weight, and gravity will cause us to lose control. So much stuff can make us lose control. Staging in 3, 2, 1. Beautiful. Alright, let's get down to 90 degrees. Now that we lost those SRBs, we're a lot lighter, so we can turn a lot easier. I'm starting to lose control because I'm turning too quickly. Alright, let's go ahead and check our maneuver notes, see what our apoapsis is at. You know what? Let's go ahead and go to 0 degree or 90 degree, which is just before the red. One thing you want to do is you want to make sure that you do not go into the red, because then what you're doing is you're thrusting against your momentum. What that means is you're wasting fuel. You're trying to fight your own momentum. We're not trying to do that. We're trying to just add to our momentum to get that trajectory a little bit wider. As you can see, it is much, much wider now. What is our apoapsis? 73? So we're going to keep at the 90 degree angle until we reach an apoapsis of 100 kilometers. So 85, 90, 95, and 100. Well, I got it to 101. That's okay. No big deal. Alright, next thing we need to do is we need to go ahead and set up a maneuver node and see just how long of a burn we need to do. And it looks like I'm having issues. Hold on. Yep, it's gonna do this. Yep, god damn it. Alright, apoapsis is at 102, periapsis is at 101. That should be fine. Alright, so the burn time, like I said, is now only going to be 12 seconds, which saves us a lot of fuel. This time we'll have a ton of fuel to get the orbit and then to deorbit the trash. So what we want to do is we want to point towards this blue thing right here. I forget what this thing is called. This is the maneuver node. We need to point towards it, the little blue triangle looking thing. Problem is, the reaction wheels on the, what is this guy called? On the remote guidance unit is not enough to turn us. So what we need to do is we need to get the RCS on the probe. So we need to go ahead and get rid of the fairing in 3, 2, 1. Alright, that might have been a little too much power. I need to down the power on that next time. Alright, so we'll also go ahead, turn on the RCS, which will help us get pointed at that maneuver node. So yeah, since we're in space, we don't really have the gravity to help us turn with the reaction wheels. So the RCS is kind of a must when you're in space. Alright, so the node is in T minus 1 minute 36 seconds. The burn time is going to be 11 seconds. We'll say it's 12. So at node in T minus 6 seconds, we'll go ahead and do the burn. Let's also make sure that we don't run out of power by activating the solar panels. So hit number 1. And there we go. Much, much, much easier. And then all we have to do to pull them back in if we needed to was hit 1 again. But we're not going to worry about that. Alright, let's go ahead and time warp just a little bit. Try to get down to that 6 seconds so we can go ahead and do our burn. And 20. Okay. 7, 6, and burn. Make sure we stay pointed at our node. And 4, 3, 2, 1. Thruster off. So we still have 19 meters per second, so let's go ahead and just hit shift. Try to get that down to 0. And a little bit more. Alright, let's go ahead and get rid of the maneuver node because it started to go back up. And we are good. We are now in orbit. If we come to the map view, you can see we now have a circle around the planet, which means that we now have an orbit. Let's see. Berry Apps is at 101, Apple Apps 102. Not bad. Could have probably got a little bit better, but hey, that works. Alright, so the next thing we need to do is go ahead and separate the probe. And then go ahead and activate the engine. So if we ever do need it, we can go ahead and use it. Let's go ahead and turn off RCS so we're not wasting that. I think the reaction wheel should be enough to turn us. What I want to do is I want to go ahead and turn towards the sun. So that way we can try to set the solar panels to point directly at the sun. Making sure we have full use of those solar panels. I think we need to come up. Yeah, we need to come... Oh, no, wrong way. This way. Just like that. There we go. Okay, we're not pointed at the sun, but the solar panels are kind of saying that we are. Alright, let's try right there. Alright, that's fine. Alright, so the next thing we need to worry about is space trash. So this stage right here is now just hanging in orbit around the probe. We're not going to be using that anymore, so we kind of want to get rid of it. So what we're going to do is hit bracket so we can go ahead and select that ship. And then what we're going to do is we're going to point retrograde, which is the opposite way to where our momentum is taking us. So right now we're traveling this way, towards the east, this way. What we want to do is decelerate, so we need to burn this way. So we need to go ahead and turn around if we can. Yeah, like I said, the reaction wheels on that remote guidance unit is not very powerful. But it's getting us turned. And then we could go ahead and deorbit and make sure that this thing lands in the ocean. We don't want it to crash land on land, because when it does, it will cause some destruction. Especially if we land near a habited area. That'd be kind of bad. Of course, in KSP, there is no habited area. It's all just open world. But try to keep it somewhat realistic. Have some fun with it, you know? Alright, if we could ever get turned towards retrograde. Yeah, I'm trying not to overdo it. So I'm just kind of feathering the A key to get us turned. And you can see the gimbal on the engine every time I hit the A key. Right, there should be good enough. Alright, decelerate in 3, 2, 1. And we're just going to go ahead and spend all the fuel because we don't want the fuel actually dumping into the ocean. And as you can see, that little camera rotation lets us know that we are deorbiting. When you're trying to get in orbit, you want to keep an eye out for that. That'll let you know when you do actually have an orbit. And we're out of fuel in 3, 2, 1. Okay, my timing was off. Okay, there it is. Alright, so now we don't need to worry about that. We're just going to go ahead and let that deorbit. Let's go ahead and go back to our other vessel, which will go into map. Select the untitled spacecraft and switch to. So the last thing I want to do right now is I want to go ahead and set the name of this vessel. It just helps me find it later on when we're trying to dock to it or rendezvous with it. So we're going to find the remote guidance unit. We're going to right click on it, rename vessel, and we'll call it docking probe. Okay, at least caps lock isn't on this time. Alright, so then we could also change the icon if we really need to, but probe is selected and that's what this is, so we'll just go ahead and accept. So if we go to the map view, as you can see, the name of it is docking probe. Alright, one thing I would like to do, let's go ahead and watch the spent stage. Nope, not set as target. I want to switch to it. We'll go ahead and go to the spent stage and let's watch some in re-entry action. So we'll go ahead and speed up time until we come to heating. As it enters the atmosphere, it will create pressure, which creates friction, which also creates heat. That's what this plasma is. All this fire you see is the friction caused by the ship pressing against the, oh shit, against the atmosphere. Damn it, I didn't get into the ocean. We're gonna land on land. That's alright, we'll see a nice little explosion. Alright, we're no longer heating, but now you can see the Mach effects because we're still traveling pretty damn fast. Wonder what we're gonna slow down to. We're down to 300 meters a second. Looks like we're gonna reach about 250, somewhere around there. And in 3, 2, 1. Oh shit, it survived. Maybe. Holy. Okay. Alright, so yeah. Some of it actually did survive. Let's go ahead and go back to the Space Center. Now, if you do get some space debris, it's very easy to get rid of. So if we go to the Space Center, we don't want to revert the flight because then it will delete all the progress that we've made. We'll just go to the Space Center, go to the tracking station. We'll find that one? I think it's that one. Yep, the untitled spacecraft. This is the trash. And we'll go ahead. Will it not let me delete it? Alright, let's recover it. Screw it. They'll give us a little bit of money back. So also you can go up here. You can see the different ships, even the debris that is floating around. And you can actually get rid of all that. But it doesn't look like we have any except for our probe. So yeah, I guess next episode we got ourselves... Okay, graphic glitch. We got ourselves an orbit going. Next episode, what we want to do is we want to create a vessel so that way we can get a rendezvous and then dock with the probe. But until then, make sure to like and subscribe, all that good stuff. I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace.